like people are underground making sure that I'm not a self-made man, like far fucking from it. I'm the ideas guy, baby. You know what I mean? Like it's just, just making shit happen. And then other people, because I think they see that I'm really passionate, like our thing at Reflection Studio is passion, perspective, performance. I think they see that I'm passionate. I think I can explain my perspective of where it's coming from and why I think it instills a lot of value, and people can kind of evaluate that with me. And then we perform from that, right? We set ourselves up to say like, we can make this shit happen, right? I'm very pragmatic, I guess is the easiest way to say this.
Okay, it kind of brings rise to another question and it's been kind of burning in my head. Well, since I met you, but in through the duration of this conversation, you mentioned earlier, and I've brought it up since, the idea of being a philosophical being. I think if anyone was uncertain of whether or not that was true, they more or less have rid themselves of those uncertainties by this point in the conversation. But because one of the things that I've noticed, and I keep myself in check as I'm looking past my computer at like a bunch of books that would pretty much make me question my entire existence, and have, for someone who's very like experience oriented, but very in the present moment, but also has a ton of goals. And I think this speaks to like a broader audience. How do you manage that metacognition, the philosophical undertones, the deep meaning, the awareness of presence, and also doing stuff? Because I find like it's that philosophy is a good tool, but a better master sometimes. Like, did you find yourself like, you got plants, that rug looks very nice on the wall behind you. Like, I'm sure there's a record player in the room, if that's not what I'm staring at underneath. And it's like, okay, like, there's a time and place for that, but it's a siren song, man. Like, falling in love with your own creation in your own head is something that I see a lot of people, and myself, I slip into it. How do you keep that system of checks and balances, right? Like, you're in the woods, it's getting a little cold outside. Gets dark a little bit earlier, maybe you could put the fireplace on. Like, how do you on one side be so like, I don't want to say like, it's almost like your head is like a business where you're working in your business and on your business. It's like sometimes you're working on your head and sometimes you're working in your head, and it's like, am I getting anything done? You know what I mean? Like, you're obviously aware of that. Yeah. But how do you manage that? Because I see you being your wisdom, and sorry, I'm just rambling on this question, but I want to get as much out as I can. Like, I feel like you talk to the person who's both like an overthinker and being like, hey man, come with me. We got some shit to do. But you also maybe talk to someone who is kind of that golden retriever. It's like, okay, all right, we got to bring you back to touch grass here for a second. How do you keep that in check?
I think philosophy is very esoteric. Like, it's something like it has to be something we offer people. Right? It's not, so for myself, I just suffer. Probably the correct answer is I just suffer. I just long suffer. But I think in your question it's just, when we're trying to use philosophy as a tool, it is something that you just accept there isn't answers. I'm just happy without an answer. And I'm also extremely just interested and curious in the different lenses of life. I just want to look at different philosophers and different applications and different faiths and different religions, because I'm not striving for an answer. Because everything is circumstantial, because everything has nuance. That's exhausting, but it allows me to understand that one foot in front of the other doesn't seem accurate, but it is movement. And I also have subjective and objective evaluations. If someone sees me as a client and I just go on this fucking philosophical tangent about existentialism and absurdism and whatever else I want to talk about that day, not fucking helpful, right? But we can have, so when someone comes in and I'm like, I might start with the golden retriever person, being like, well, we're not going to talk about, they might not be the objective type. So I'm going to give them a subjective evaluation. Now I'm talking to the person, I'm granting trust, and then they feel seen and they feel heard. And then I'm talking to an athlete who needs objective evaluations, and they feel that they're seen and they're heard because that actually fucking matters to them. So I think if we can just allow philosophy to create better questions, my mind is not amok. I think, when we're sitting here and we're having this conversation, I think they are questions that you can see it spinning. You can see that the answers are not something I have. They're something that are being transposed right now. And I think that's it. Is like it's an orchestra, and if the orchestra goes off, me yelling at the flute doesn't make the orchestra go better. We have to bring everything coordinated together, and that takes some time. That takes just practice. So it's just a loud fucking Hans Zimmer up in my fucking head all the time.
And when did that come online? Because I'm curious. Like, I couldn't. Are you a musing 12-year-old that's sitting there like planning your first workout? Like, I think we're just gonna push this rock uphill. It's like, okay, you've read too much Camus. All right, Sisyphus. We're gonna like actually not do that. Like, because I'm curious. I'm seeing a lot of people now in our age or in their mid to late 30s or older, like kind of coming to philosophy as the science of asking better questions. But like, I am curious if you're, I think of you as someone that was like a Renaissance man. Like, what was your enlightenment? When did you start asking these questions? Because I think there is a lot of, through the esoteric high level of the conversation and watching you show your work as you transpose the answers, as it were. Like, I think there's a lot of to be gleaned from that, from people who probably just like, because look, I think studying philosophy is a bit of a luxury, right? Yes. Like Killian always told me, he's like, man, when Stoicism was on the rise, and it probably still is somewhat in vogue, but Killian once said, like, man, you can't be, there's no Stoics in Russia or Siberia, right? Because you got to survive, right? Like, it is a luxury for us to sit here and have these conversations and do that. But I'm curious, like, one, your experience in coming online with asking these questions is metacognition, like this awareness that you have in the presence of the people that you're with and you're trying to help, in hopes to find that like an olive branch for someone who's just like the lights haven't come on yet.
Yeah.
What was your sort of like, oh, okay, I get it now.
And again, I think that's one, Killian, absolute genius. Like, shout out, because it's someone you can talk to and like those answers are there. He knows, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate it so much. When did it happen? I can give you a long answer. I can give you kind of just a summary. My goal is just, the idea is that the acorn is not better than the oak tree, right? It's just different stages. So that is my goal, is just to understand that people are coming at different stages. I was a really just strange kid. I'm still a strange person, but I was once a child. And yeah, like I tried to take my life when I was 6. So I had the idea, 6. So I was in Winnipeg and I was in the health science center there. And they were like, you have depression. And this is the time of just, hey, everything's a chemical imbalance. So I suppose, not to go like too deep into who I am and why I am the way I am, but yeah, we're all environmental beings. I don't know. Later in life, they were like, as everyone needs right now, some kind of definition of themselves clinically, you're autistic ADHD. So when I was a kid, I was like, this is way too much. I was overstimulated. So I had to start thinking, so when you're 6 and you start thinking about non-existence, I feel like that's going to set you up on a fucking Sisyphean task. Yeah.
I was like, what glue stick tastes better? That was kind of my deep philosophicals at 6. Where like, I think Elmer's tastes a little bit better than the other glue stick.
I would honestly say, yeah. So it started there. And then, I had Robin Williams, Jim Carrey, Anthony Bourdain. There were people I were drawn to. And those are the people that I think inspired a conversation, a type of thought, a way of looking at the world. And comedians. If I were to want to be anything in life, it would be the jester. I can speak to the king, and I also can speak to the common man. And I can make them laugh and I can make them think. That is if I were to be something, that is what I would want to be. So I think as a kid, that's kind of what I wanted to adopt too. I imagine it started when I was really young, and I'm still fumbling through it, and I'm still just trying to figure it out. I'm just having a conversation with you, figuring it out as we go.
How do you advise people around this mode of thought, or do you? Because I'm always curious. Like, I gift books a lot. Like if I buy someone a gift, it's usually either a book or a pen. Like those are honestly. If you're on my Christmas list, spoiler alert, you're getting a book or you're getting a pen. But how because
oh my God, you just sent me the DSM-5.
What I really, there you go, figure yourself out. What I really don't like in our industry, like specifically to the fitness industry, is this idea of a forever student. And it's something that I actually try and drill out of people. Because when the house is on fire, I don't need a student firefighter. I need the best, 5-alarm NYPD, Ghostbusters, Ladder 9. That's who I need. And when you're showing up for people, it's one thing to show up with this epistemic humility, but it's another thing to know that if the house is on fire, that you have the badge and the hose and you know what the fuck you're doing. Yeah. So it's like, in the same breath as we're having conversations, we're figuring this out, it's all sort of ebbing and flowing. At a certain point, undoubtedly, and especially maybe even more so in your case, just given your like geographic location, you're wearing one of those hats that you're wearing is a meaningful and potent advisor to a lot of people. How do you, if philosophy has been what I would assume to be a net positive in your life, how do you instruct people around navigating and establishing their own philosophical worldview? Like, is that a conversation that you're comfortable at having? Are you able to kind of take the reins and be like, okay, hey, look, or how do you lead people to that?
This is a really good question. I don't think I'm comfortable. I think it's necessary. Like, I think we're in a time where we don't have a lot of third spaces. People don't go to church. You can see them leaning into stoicism or whatever they want to attach to. I'm not a big belief guy, right? And like, that's the thing, is I am a contradiction because I absolutely adore science and rigor and data. It matters. We need to make fucking decisions in this life. If I'm pragmatic, I also have to be confident in the decisions I make. But I take the environmental conclusions and consequences very seriously when people have conversations with me. So I think about a person. I don't think about what they're telling me. I also think about why they're telling me, who it is when they're telling me. Are they humble about it? Are they scared to tell me? Are they doing all those things? So you're trying to absorb all of these concepts of complex humanity, the soup of metacognition, and then just ask them a question. Because at the end of the day, like, brains don't like being told what to do. They like to understand something, right? So I need to be confident enough to ask them a question that leads them to that understanding. I don't normally tell them anything. I don't feel comfortable about it. One, I'm not a therapist. We're not having discussions about that. We're just having discussions about, you are here, you are existing, death is coming, and you need to make decisions on how you wish to exist. This is something that's happening in real time. What do you think? Life is not that serious, but you should be sincere in it. And that's something that I try to embody. So when I have conversations with people, I don't tend to feel insecure about having them, but I am just having them. It's not something I have this guiding light where I'm following it. I'm just like, let's get there together. My goal is just to walk people home through the dark. We're all just fucking heading where we're heading. Let's just make sure that everyone feels like they're safe while they're going there. So having these discussions that are philosophical, I don't tend to quote philosophers. I don't do any of that shit. I know that we don't have, again, those third spaces that people are searching for. And Reflection Studio was kind of the premise of that. And one of the greatest gifts I ever had was someone coming in and being like, thanks, this is actually a third space for me. This is where I can actually feel that I'm developing myself. And I think as coaches, that's all we really want to do, is we want to help with development. When I think of doctors, and you might be able to speak to this as a chiropractor.
No, I can't. I'm just going to show you I can't.
Eileen, you see me like say that and just completely shut? You take this long game of education where it's very much so, like doctors, surgeons, you end up just gathering time, doing stuff and learning things. Whereas if you're an athlete, if you're a musician, you are coached. You are constantly criticized and ridiculed and helped to grow because you have such faith and trust in another person of humanity that does this skill well. And if you're a good coach, you want them to do it better than even you can do it. So coaching, in essence, is asking better questions, like you've said, in a way that they become have an ability to answer it in a multitude of ways. Like I want my clients to have the ability to, a mark of an educated mind is being able to have two thoughts simultaneously that might be contradictory, right? We can apply this circumstance, and that's what I want for clients. That's what I want for all of humanity, is not to walk through life with beliefs, but an underpinning, an undertone of, like I said, experience and exposure and conversations where we can all find common ground, but we have to stick to what works for us.